Right, guys, welcome back to the podcast. It's episode 26 of Adapting to Change. I'm joined by co-host, contract manager Paul. How are you, mate?
Well, Alex, afternoon. You okay?
Yeah, good, mate. Thank you. And we are joined remotely. I'm very pleased to welcome Peter Eastbrook from the SIA. Peter, good afternoon. How are you?
Hello, good afternoon. Really well, thanks. Thanks for inviting me.
No, thank you for taking the time out to come and join us, because I'm like Paul Forward before, who joined us previously. Very busy man, I'm sure. So we'll dive straight in, Peter. So if you could, for us, just give us a quick overview of your current role with the SIA, what's involved, what a normal day looks like for you.
A normal day. Okay, I'll have a think about that. But
if there is such a thing as a normal day.
Yeah, there is such a thing. So yeah, as introduced, so Pete Eastbrook, I'm currently the Interim Director of Inspections and Enforcement, which is one of the directorates within the SIA. We've got four departments that I'm responsible for, two of our operational commands and two of our supporting enabling functions. So one of those is the compliance and inspections function. So that is our team of staff that are based all over the UK. Many of those within the private security industry will have engaged with during inspections and checks, etc., etc. They undertake sort of the bulk of our work that we term compliance work, compliance inspection work, as the name suggests. The other operational command is our criminal enforcement command. I always say that's really very straightforward, because the name tells you exactly what they do. So this very, very small subset of individuals and businesses who engage in activity where the sort of level of risk, the level of harm is so high that only a criminal investigation with a view to prosecution is appropriate. Also responsible for our intelligence unit, which again, as the name suggests, deal with all the intelligence that comes into the organisation through our number of different routes, and our operational support team as well, who kind of basically make everything work. And I think you sort of know the kind of people that I'm talking to. They're the unsung heroes, but they keep everything ticking over and the business moving on. So yeah, busy old job.
Sounds it. I mean, we had Paul on a few months ago, so just wondering kind of what updates you guys have had in the last sort of maybe 5-6 months since we last spoke.
Yeah, so there's been loads going on, and I was actually reflecting with a colleague the other day. We were talking about change and developments and what's happening, and actually I don't think there's ever been a period of time, and this is true of all organisations, public or private, where you're ever actually standing still and nothing's happening. There's always something going on, isn't there?
Yeah.
So there's been loads of things. So there's been quite a lot of work undertaken in the training malpractice space that we might get on to talk about later on. Top-up training, as you probably know, has changed, particularly in relation to the requirement for a first aid certificate. Crucially, Martin's Law was given royal assent in April of this year, and all the things that come with that. And the SIA kind of fundamentally, we've now shifted in terms of our positioning within government. So we now sit under the Security Minister, who's Dan Jarvis. We sit under the Security Minister's portfolio, working closely with Home Office colleagues in Homeland Security. So that's quite a big shift for us in terms of the mechanism for us to work within government.
Yeah, so who were you sat under before?
So that was within safeguarding. So there's slightly complicated. There's still a bit of a dotted line. So within safeguarding, you've got organisations like DBS, like Disclosure and Barring Service. Mm-hmm. So there is still a connection, but it feels as though this is the right place for the SIA. Not just now, but also with our extra responsibilities that will come in the future. We're within that, that group of organisations who kind of, it just fits a little bit better. But there is still that dotted line back across to safeguarding, particularly with some of the key things like violence against women and girls, for example, which the safeguarding minister is responsible for.
Okay, cool. I mean, you touched on briefly then a couple of things that we will come on to talk about, like training malpractice, labour exploitation, and things like that. But one of the points where I wanted to start was, we didn't talk about it with Paul, and it's probably something that's often quite overlooked, is like the buyer, the end user of, so say company X wants to hire a security firm. What role do you think they have in bringing up the standards? Like the end user, the client?
Yeah, so it's a really good question. I think the short answer is that they have a key role to play. There's always going to be this tension, I think, with buyers, because it's a commercial enterprise. I think for a long time, unfortunately, and it probably is still true if we're being honest with ourselves, a lot of buyers view security as a grudge purchase. And I think within that there creates a disincentive to really ask the questions and challenge the quality of security. Well, I think we are starting to see that change, but it's an enormous work.
Yeah, I was going to say we've noticed the last couple of years a bit of a shift. We're now seeing more kind of weighting. So like in a tender, you'll see weighting on, your ESG, your governance, how you engage with your colleagues, how you treat your staff, that kind of thing. So, I mean, do you think they benefit from engaging with yourselves?
Yeah, they do. And so we've got a buyers panel coming up at the start of next month where we engage with buyers. We've got kind of limited regulatory levers that we can use with buyers. So the legislation that governs the SIA and how we work, for example, gives us very limited tools to engage with buyers. But we're doing more and more in that space. So I mentioned the buyers panel. We're also starting this year to have much more engagement from an inspection point of view with buyers, where we're going in, rather than going in at the operational level, engaging with, security operatives, supervisors, managers, and the business, actually just testing what it looks like when we go in at the opposite end. So starting with buyers and then testing the supply chain all the way through.
Is that something you're actively doing now?
Yeah, that's something we've started this year. So we've slightly shifted some of our inspection focus, and that's one of those areas that we'll be looking to do even more. We've always engaged with buyers, and we've always engaged with them. But we're just looking to kind of give it a bit more attention. If I'm honest, I think that probably the most influence, we have a part to play. There's no doubt about that. But I think the greatest influence is the industry itself over buyers, because of that, commercial relationship. But we certainly have a part to play.
Absolutely. That's interesting. How have you found the kind of the inspections going with the buyers? Has that highlighted some stuff that you maybe thought that you didn't even consider, or has it kind of told you what you thought? How have you found it? What's the feedback?
So I think so my experience, I've been with the SIA 15 years, just over 15 years now, and I started off as an investigator in a regional team working in compliance. We were engaging with